Hi friends, I'm in my kitchen today and I'm going to do a little bit of a declutter. My kitchen is partly simplified, and so this declutter I expect to be more of a quick glance and make sure everything is kind of how I expect it to be. You'll see that some spaces are already like pretty put together and other spaces have kind of run away with themselves. And so we're just going to start on this side of the kitchen next to the dishwasher, and we're going to work our way around and see what we can get done in a short amount of time. So stick around to the end and I'll show you how much I was able to actually declutter out of the kitchen in this kind of quick pass. By the way, if we haven't met, my name is Mindy and I talk about getting our houses and our lives in order. Okay, so we're starting, like I said, on this end of my kitchen, and we're just gonna like work our way around, and I don't know how far I'm gonna get tonight. It's late, I'm tired, but I just wanna get through a little bit and just do a basic just another pass of decluttering. And like I said, I've already simplified a lot of these spaces, so I think you'll find that like some of these spaces you're going to be like, why are you bothering to declutter? But you know, I just think it's important to go ahead and do just a general pass every now and again because stuff creeps in. So I'm going to start right here in my silverware drawer, and there's not a lot to see, right? Like here's my knives, and you know, here I have some napkins. To be honest, we don't use these napkins. They've been in here a long time. And I'm not gonna think too hard. I'm gonna let it go. I also can see that this thing could stand to be wiped and cleaned out, but I'm just not gonna take time for that right now. Other than this, it's just our regular silverware that we use every day. I'm not gonna think any more about it for now. This is where I keep the napkins that we use for eating, and we use these daily and we use these daily. So for me, these are active zones, and these are the things that if it's gonna live here, it needs daily use. And so far that's true up here with our silverware and our knives. And then down here with the towels, and usually there's washcloths, but I need to fold the laundry and put it away right now. And down here is where I keep all of my bags and aluminum foils. So it's worth kind of looking at and saying, do I actually use each of these things? And so parchment paper, yes. Aluminum foil, yes. Cling wrap, yes. And then I have storage and freezer bags, and then another size of freezer bags. And I can attest to that. Yes, I actually use each of these things regularly, so they have earned their space in my active use area. All right, and down here I have, oh, let me adjust it a little. Okay, I've adjusted the camera a little bit so that you can see better, but this drawer actually does get a lot of use, and I can see that some things have walked their way into here that don't really belong, and it's making my life a little bit harder. So I can actually do a little bit of work here. So this is a cutting board that I use daily, so I need to keep that. And I use this casserole dish often enough that it does deserve a place. It gets used probably like once every 2 weeks. I see this bag has come down here, and I'm not gonna think too hard. I'm just gonna go ahead and throw out things that are, you know, like small things like bags or things that have walked their way out. These little guys have a story. These are hooks. How they ended up in here, I don't know, but they're wall hooks. They're in their bag. They're super cute, and I want to hang them on my wall. I'm not ready because I want to paint the walls first, but you know what? They can go in the storage area in my basement where I would look for such a thing. They don't need to be living in my active zone, so I'm gonna set them up here. I am going to take them directly where they belong in a moment, but I have a few more things that I think are going to go too. This is a knife, 3 knives, and they're like plastic knives, although they do actually cut, and my daughter uses them when she's helping me cook, so they can live here. I'm okay with that. Here's a linen. How did it get down here? Don't know. We'll put you away. And here's a smaller size casserole dish. I do use both of these casserole dishes, but you know what? I don't really use this guy. I don't want to get rid of him because I do use it at the holidays when I've run out of pans. And so I do have a small space in my basement where I keep extra kitchen stuff that gets used less than monthly. And I would say that this guy has not been used in probably at least 3 months. So I'm gonna go ahead and for now I'm gonna put it in that space. I'm gonna put him up here on the counter. I'm going to relocate the hooks to the space where I would look for those in the basement. And I'm gonna take that small pan downstairs as well. These make popsicles, and I am very anti single-use things like popsicle makers. That said, my daughter loves when we make popsicles a couple of times a year. And so they do not need to live in this active drawer, but I'm going to keep them. However, along with this pan that gets used less than monthly, these less than monthly popsicle popsicle makers, I guess, they're also going to go in the kitchen storage space in the basement. So there's that. And now you can see this cabinet looks better, and I just let my cutting board sit on top kind of lazily, and that's much cleaner and easier to manage than it was a few minutes ago. Let's keep going. I want to keep this fast, and I just want to get in and get out and just kind of sort these drawers really quickly in these cabinets. Okay, so I've actually just moved up a little bit. I'm on a step stool, and these are my cabinets above the dishwasher, and I'll just open them up. So I'm gonna do a quick pass. You can see there's not a ton going on in these first shelves. I have some ramekins that I use regularly, bowls that we use, cups that we use daily, plates and bowls that we use daily, coffee cups that we use daily. And I don't feel like there's too many. There's a few in the dishwasher right now too, so we actually have a few more plates and cups than this. This is where I keep my dishwasher tabs. My daughter is young enough that I feel better keeping the dishwasher tabs out of reach. And then we have this disaster up here. So I'm just gonna grab one thing at a time, and we're just gonna see what we can do. First of all, these are like single-use kitchen gadget. They are to make ice cream sandwich cookies, I guess. Super fun, super cool. I'm not gonna do it. I'm just gonna let them go. They're gonna go to the, what I say to my daughters, they're gonna go to the next family, which means I'm gonna go ahead and donate them. Maybe someone else would love to make ice cream sandwich cookie towers. To be honest, I'm on a step stool, which isn't usually the case, and I'm actually able to see things back here that I didn't even know they were back here. So some of this is as much a surprise to me as it is to you. I'm gonna go ahead and let go of this spare Tupperware stuff. This is like random stuff that I do not need or want. So these things they're gonna go, and they're not in good shape. I'm just gonna throw them out. And I found some more pieces to the popsicles. It almost is like physically painful for me to keep this kind of stuff. But again, like I said, we do use them a couple times a year, and you know, I guess, you know, when you're trying to weigh what to keep and what not to keep, and yeah, we have these rules, right? Like, I'm not going to keep single-use gadgets, and I'm not going to keep things that are in my way, and this and that. But when it comes down to it, you also have to think about like your general happiness, right? Like, it makes my daughter so happy for us to make these little popsicles a couple times a summer. Could I do the same thing with an ice cube tray and a toothpick like when I was a kid? Absolutely. But the fact is we have these little things and we might as well use them. So I'm gonna put this rest of the set with the first part. They're gonna go in the basement, and when I think of it, we'll bring them up and we'll make some popsicles. Next, this kind of get turned up here in a sort of purgatory. I didn't think that I would need it or use it anymore. I put it up here to see if I missed it. I haven't missed it. It's been a really long time. I'm gonna go ahead and donate it. It's cool for like basting things on the grill, but the fact is when that happens, I just use my small one, and I don't actually need this. So this is gonna get like donated, I guess. I also have a pie server up here, similar in the whole purgatory concept. That's probably not like the correct way to say it, but maybe quarantine is a better way to say it. It was quarantined. But I do find myself using the pie server. It doesn't get to be in my active space because I only need it every now and again. But I think I'm gonna put it right here where I can kind of see the handle poking out. And these are my corn on the cob stems, and we do actually use those. An entire box of coffee filters, but you know what, folks? I don't use coffee filters. I have a built-in filter. When I use the filters, it overflows. It pains me to get rid of this entire box of coffee filters, but what am I gonna do? So it's gonna go. If I need coffee filters in the future, I'll just buy some coffee filters. I have spare lids, spare cups, containers, like cream cheese container. I don't need this stuff. No thanks. Forks. No thanks. This stuff is all this is trash. I have some mason jars. I'm gonna stick them under the sink where I have some other jars, but when I get down there, I might find that I actually need to declutter some of this stuff. And now I have this disaster of forks and knives. Right, what do we do with them? Well, I do sometimes need plasticware. I have some up here in this cup. I have one lone spoon, which is the only plasticware I use regularly, and I keep washing it and putting it up here because I know I only have one spoon. So I'm gonna let this spoon keep living here because does it make sense for this spoon to be up here? Not really, but it's where I look for it. So if you're gonna look for something in a particular place, for heaven's sakes, put it there. You make yourself crazy if you try and learn a new place to put it. I look for this little plastic spoon up here. So that's where it's gonna live. All right. Okay, so I actually just had 2 of these plastic cups, and all I have is forks and knives besides my one lonely spoon up here. So I just split them into forks and knives. We do occasionally need them for something or another. I'm okay with letting them live there, and that's a lot more manageable, and that feels a lot more breathable. I know that my pie server is up here. Once in a while I need it. Maybe I'll find another thing that would be useful to kind of store up here. But for right now, all of this other stuff is pretty much garbage. So I'm gonna let it go. If you find that it's harder for you to make these decisions, just take heart in knowing that I used to agonize over every single plastic cup and I can't explain to you how difficult it was for me to just make a decision, and then putting something in the garbage or like in the donation bin was a little bit easier, but putting something in the garbage was almost physically painful for me. And my house was not simplified. It still really isn't. It may look that way from this cabinet. You'll see that I have other cabinets that are not as simplified, and I'll just take off a layer from them and we'll just keep going. So if you're at a point where it's still really harder for you to make decisions, just know that the more you do it, the easier it gets, okay? Like you just have to trust me that you just have to keep trying. And then one day you'll be like, well, what do I do this? I don't need it. I'm just gonna get rid of it. And then you'll be like, oh, that was actually kind of an easy decision to make. Like these were never easy decisions, but all of a sudden it'll be something that might have tripped you up in the past, and you'll find that it's not tripping you up now. So that will happen. You just have to declutter regularly and just little bits at a time here and there if you can, rather than like some big declutter marathon where you can get tripped up at the beginning and then not get done what you wanted to get done, and then then we like are angry with ourselves, I would just encourage you to like just do like 10 minutes here or there, or like set a timer, set an alarm every day for like a 10-minute declutter. This is taking me a little more than 10 minutes. It's probably more like 20 minutes. And because I'm filming this video, it's taking even longer than it might otherwise. But I just wanted you to see my process, at least for the areas that are simplified. So with that, we're just gonna keep going through the drawers and the cabinets and just get rid of whatever we can get rid of. Okay, so it's getting a little squeezy in here because I'm in the corner of my kitchen right now. We were just over there on the right side of the kitchen, and now we're coming over here to the other side. And so you can see this area already isn't quite as simplified as the previous area. But I'm gonna go ahead and give you like a close-up shot so that you can see what's in there, and I'll talk about the things. So you can't see me, but I'm just going to hold this camera and show you there's not a ton to do in here because we use a lot of this stuff. Over here are the travel mugs, and we use every single one of those. This is, I don't know how this Pop-Tart, again, what did I say? Things walk in, right? So here's a Pop-Tart. We're gonna throw it out. Who knows how old it is. Here's my food storage that I use regularly, and I'd say I use all of it. And now that I'm digging in here, I see that these little two plastic guys have traveled their way in. I don't use them, and I don't need them in the space. I'm gonna go ahead and get rid of them. The rest of this stuff is all pretty regular, and I do use it a lot. And then I'm gonna move up a shelf. Again, I use these two. I struggle with this one. I don't like it. I don't like to have plastic. But sometimes I run out of space, and I do end up using it. So I'm gonna keep it for now. I have a plate that I use. That's my knife I use daily. That stuff all gets used, and it's all staying. And then on this top shelf, now you can't tell from this camera angle, but this isn't very reachable. So this is more, this is not an active zone. This is more of a storage, monthly or less thing. And likewise, I have a tea kettle. I have 2 bread pans and a few pie plates. All things that get used monthly or less. And I'm comfortable with the space that they're taking up, so they can continue to live here. So actually, I didn't really have very much to get rid of other than these couple of little food storage, small plastic containers that I don't use. So I'm gonna move on then, and I'm gonna move on to the one next to it. There's a little more going on here. At the top, this is a blender, and I use it regularly, weekly even. Right here, this might seem a little odd, but this is all the stuff I need to make oatmeal, and I make that at least weekly. All of those things are fresh, used regularly, and I'm not worried about it. Down here is my oils, and there is a little bit to do in here, as a matter of fact. Oh, more than I thought even. There's so much in here that it's hard for me even to get in. So I'm just gonna organize it by things I use all of the time and things I don't use all of the time. So I use this all of the time. I'm gonna set it in a spot where it's going to get placed back in here. I use cooking spray all the time. I use apple cider vinegar all the time. I use honey all of the time, although there's a tiny bit left in there, so I'll keep it. And then this is my next honey, since the other one is so close to being gone. And now we're getting to things I don't use as often. I'm gonna try and use this up. However, this coconut oil is expired, and that's a big container, and it's gonna go. I have a big, I don't use this type of cooking oil very often, and I bet if I look, I'm gonna find that it's expired. And I was right, it is expired. I'm going to let it go. Same with this, I'm going to let it go. And then I have a spray here, a cooking spray. Actually, there's no reason not to use this. I just don't use it for whatever reason, and I'm gonna let it go. So then I have this really expensive bottle of balsamic vinegar. I don't tend to use it because it turns out that my guy can't have it with the sulfites. He gets a headache every time, so I tend not to cook with it. Boy, that's a harder one. I think I might use it on some salads now that I'm becoming more aware of it. I'm gonna keep that one. I'm gonna let myself keep that. And I'm gonna put away the other things that I use all of the time. I'm also gonna try and use this pink salt. I'm gonna put back this honey. That's the new honey, and I go through a lot of honey, so I'm not worried about that. And the cooking spray and the olive oil that I use. So now almost everything in here I use constantly, and then I let myself go ahead and keep a couple things that I don't use as much, but I want to use them, and maybe with less clutter it will be a little easier to do that, and that's a lot more manageable than what was in there before. Okay, we've worked our way all the way over to the microwave. We're doing great. It is wearing me out though. It's hard to make all these decisions. Even though I'm making them quickly, it's still tiring and it's late. So I'm gonna keep going though. I'm gonna see how much I can get done before I've just had enough. And so up here on top of the microwave, it's pretty slim already. I have a knife sharpening block that I use, and I use these to shine up the stove that's right below it. Here's my orange tea. This goes with the Food Ninja blender, and it gets used weekly, so that's a great thing to have. Here's some tea that I don't really use. As a matter of fact, I've never opened it. It's still good. I haven't used it. That's kind of a hard call. I am going to go ahead and let myself keep it because there's not very much up here. And it's okay. It's okay to keep stuff, right? Like, it's okay. If you have space and you're not tripping over your stuff, it's all right. I love this craft, so I'm gonna keep it, although this guy needs to go down with the vases. And when we get down there, I might end up, you know, like the mason jars, I might have some to get rid of. So you might be watching this video saying, where's the big clutter? Like, do you have a lot of clutter? And I told you, yes, I do in some places. Like, some places are more cluttered than others. Well, so here we go. So this guy's pretty full, right? Like, I can get rid of some of this. There's stuff in here. So a space like this can really trip us up, right? Like, and it can really trip me up. So rather than get halted and dig into the weeds, I'm just gonna go ahead and do a quick pass and see if there's like some stuff that I can easily get rid of. And I'm not gonna think too terribly hard about it, and I'm not gonna worry about it being perfect. I'm just gonna try and get through like whatever. If I can just find some stuff to clear out, I'll feel good about it. So on the top shelf, I have spice packets that I use regularly, flour that I use regularly, sugar that I use regularly, cornstarch, which has a container that I can actually decant this into, tea, which I use regularly, and this grater gets used. And why did the pancake mix live up here? I don't know, but that's where I look for it, so it's gonna stay, whether it makes sense or not. Whoop. But the sugar almost never gets used, and it can live back a little bit. Here's the cornstarch container, so I can decant that little container into here. So that doesn't really declutter, right? But it does get rid of a container, and so I'm counting it. This shelf is always hard for me. I don't know why it's so hard for me, but it just is. This is one of the biggest fights in my house. This is all of the little sauces that come with the things. And what I want to do is dump it in the garbage and never look back. But I'm not the only person that lives in this house. and I cannot make sweeping decisions that affect other people. And the fact is that my guy goes through this looking for sauces regularly. Every now and again, when I get some sauces, I'll dig out all of the old ones of that kind and put in the new ones. So they do get some kind of rotation about them. I think it's kind of gross personally, but it is what it is. And there are too many in here. I'm gonna take a couple of minutes and see if there's a lot of duplicates that I can get rid of. Okay, so I just took about 3 minutes and made it at least so they all fit in this basket, okay? Like, it's not great. I wouldn't have this at all. I don't trust the expiration of these things, or they're not marked. I think it's kind of gross, but I'm not the only person that lives here. So I've condensed it. There's at least a couple of each type in here. And I'm gonna let it live, okay? And then there's an extra pizza sauce, and then there's, okay. So I'm over it, Over here is where I keep a lot of candy and sugar stuff. I don't eat very much candy and no one in my house eats candy and sugar very much, so things get very old. Y'all, these are St. Patrick's Day chocolates, and it's August. I'm gonna let this go. I'm not gonna think very hard about these things. Because we get, again, more candy than we can eat. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna mostly let all the candy just go. Oh, here's cinnamon. And it's still good for a long time. I am going to keep the cinnamon because I go through a lot of cinnamon. Like, I use a lot of cinnamon, and I just didn't know that was in there. These can go in, I have a little baking section in the basement. It kind of goes along with the kitchen thing, things that just don't get used very often. And these little baking cups can go down there. Fortune cookies, God only knows how old those are. Marshmallows, not good anymore. We're gonna let all that stuff go. And this is gonna feel a lot better. Actually, I gotta be honest, this is actually going better than I expected. I'm getting rid of a lot more than I thought I would. So that's really awesome. Here's where I'm supposed to keep chocolate. Again, this stuff is older than old. We don't eat chocolate. I'm gonna let it go. And the chocolate container will just be empty until something comes around for us. Another chance to decant. This is where I keep the brown sugar. It looks like it didn't all fit. I'm gonna take a moment and just dump it in and let it all live in one space. Okay, so you can see this is extremely full, and I need to actually take a little more out. So what I did is I just put in what would fit, and there's a tiny, teeny bit left in the bag, and I just let it go because it's not worth keeping the bag around for like such a small amount of brown sugar. We don't actually use that much. I used to use a little bit more, but I've moved away from using brown syrup and towards using maple syrup if I need a sweetener in its place. So I'm just gonna let this container live like it is up here. Oh, and some stuff that got kind of forgotten about. A sucker from long ago, very long ago. These are my recipe cards, and I love this little box. I think it was my grandma's at one point, so I keep that. And these little sprinkles are older than the hills. They can go. And that can live up there, and that can live up there. And this is actually looking a lot better. And I have my doubts about the age of this powdered sugar. Yeah, it's outdated. Actually, a lot of these decisions are making themselves just based on the dates. These are still good for a while. I guess for the sake of keeping something chocolate in the house, I'll keep these little mini chips. I have the space, so I feel okay about keeping them. And that looks a lot more manageable than it did a few minutes ago. And now down here, this is regularly used spices, but I took a peek in here a few minutes ago and I saw that there's actually a lot of stuff in here that doesn't get used that much. And I'm just gonna move the camera so that you can see a little better. Okay, and I'm actually just sitting on the counter now. So this is outdated. For the most part, I use my spices and I try to not keep the things that I don't really use around. This is outdated. Bummer. This is the cinnamon that I just found. So I'm gonna put it back here where I would actually look. Like, I can see I actually, oh no, ah! So when I have spare spices, like I bought ahead a little bit for whatever reason, I tend to kind of tuck them back in this corner. So as much as you can, put things where you will look for them. And I will look for these new spices, this garlic powder that I use a lot of and cinnamon that I use a lot of. I will look for them right there. So that's where I'm going to put them. Okay, salt and pepper, seasoned salt, regular table salt. Those things can live where they are. And now I'm just going to do a quick pass looking at this stuff. And this is all stuff that gets used regularly. Not the pumpkin pie spice. I'll have to remember to get more before the holidays. Okay, and that's the stuff I use the most. So there really wasn't much to get rid of there. And that's it. All of that stuff I use regularly and I feel good about keeping it. But I think you can see that this cabinet is a lot more manageable now. I feel a lot more better about opening the cabinets while I'm cooking and reaching in and getting the things that I need and not having to trip over myself or over bottles that just don't fit. So now I just have a couple of bottom cabinets and drawers to do, and I know in my head that there isn't that much to do in them and it won't be that heavy of a lift, so I'm just going to power through and get those few things done and feel good that after just several minutes of kind of sweeping past these drawers and cabinets that I've actually removed a lot more stuff than what I thought was in here. Like, my cabinets didn't really look completely overfilled at the beginning, but I think that there's a lot more in there than I realized because I'm definitely decluttering a lot more than I expected. Okay, here I am back on the floor again. So I lowered the camera down. I'm gonna do a quick sweep of these drawers and cabinets that are lower to the ground now that I have the camera down. And then I'm just gonna say I'm done for the night. I've done plenty. I could have done much less and still felt very accomplished. So in this cabinet, I don't keep a ton of stuff. I used to actually keep recycling and some other stuff down here. I kept on having problems with the plumbing because things kept on getting knocked around. And so I had to remove a lot of stuff and just in general keep a lot less inventory in here. Sometimes I keep a cat in here. So I thought I might have too many vases before, and I can see that I have kind of a shorter, a taller, and a skinny. I actually don't think that's too many vases now that I see it like this. And I have a few jars. I do want to keep one mason jar, and I want to start using this little jar for salad dressings that I make. So there's not too much stuff in here. I can go ahead and recycle this one jar because I don't need two. And then this is a little science experiment that me and my daughter did, and it's just oil and food coloring with water, and she keeps asking to every few days to put an Alka-Seltzer tablet in it, and it makes like a lava lamp. So she's still enjoying this, and I'm gonna keep it down here for now. And an extra scrubber head for my dish scrubber. And actually my old dish scrubber is so disgusting that I'm gonna go ahead and use this now. I'm gonna get rid of the other one because it's nasty, and I'm just gonna pop this new head on. And you might be noticing that there's dishwasher tabs here, and I had dishwasher tabs up top. That's because this is unopened, and so when they're not opened, this is just a convenient storage place. But once this container gets opened, and the tabs are easy to get out, at that point I move this container into my tall up closet. Just because that's where I have space, and I want to give the tablet type stuff up high because it's just dangerous with kids. But when it hasn't yet been opened, it turns out these things are next to impossible to get opened, so I'm okay with leaving it down here. Come on. So now I have this kind of awkward corner cabinet. And this corner cabinet houses colanders and bowls. You might notice that I don't stack things. I don't stack bowls. I don't stack food storage containers unless it's the same on top of the same for the most part. And that's very much on purpose. It just makes it easier to get the things that I need and not be shifting and jumbling and like trying to juggle things. Down here, I keep a very small amount of food. It tends to be things that I'm planning on making this week. That is what this is for. Now, a lot of these things have kind of traveled up here and they don't need to be up here. They didn't get used for whatever reason. So, and then there's this steamer portion to my pot. I used to use this a lot. I don't use it very much anymore. I steam my vegetables a different way. I don't think I'm going to get rid of it, but I do think I'm going to move it to the basement storage. Again, I'm trying to keep this active space, stuff that gets used regularly, and if it's not being used at least monthly, it has not earned its place up here. I could also say that most of this food could actually go. This hot sauce can stay. When something's almost empty, I'll leave its replacement here for convenience rather than having to go into the basement where I keep a lot of my food storage. I just don't have the space up here. Okay, so it's actually the end of the week, and so my food storage is really empty right now. I swear to you, we do have food at our house. The refrigerator has food, the pantry has some food, but for right now, this is where the food for the meals for this week go, so that it's very convenient to the stove. But I'm going to shop tomorrow and then it will get refilled with the food that we're going to use this week for the meals. So for right now, it's looking pretty empty. Otherwise, I use all of this stuff. So the stuff up here does get to stay. It has earned its place. I'm almost done for the night. These are the last few drawers. I'm just gonna move to the other side and we're gonna go through them. There's not very much in them and I don't know that we're even gonna find anything to get rid of, but we're gonna look because it's important to look and constantly be trying to pull off layers because things accumulate that you just don't think are gonna accumulate. Okay, so first, this is my utensil drawer and it's conveniently right next to my stove, and it's spatulas. I do have two more spatulas, but they're in the dishwasher. Spoons and kitchen scissors and a grippy, those things all get used. When I look in here, remember I said I already had like a basting brush? Here it is. 2 rubber spatulas of different sizes. I do use both of those. A potato or a banana masher, that gets used monthly at least. Can opener. Serving fork gets used more often than I expect. Meat masher. You know what? This is like a single-use thing. I love this thing. I use this, like, it mashes up sausage or burger or whatever. Like, this is worth it. That's a single use that I'm gonna keep. And same thing with the garlic press. I cook everything with garlic and I use the garlic press. And then I have these little, clippies and a knife honer. So all of this stuff I actually feel good about, and I don't mind it. It's not too difficult for me to reach anything in here or get to it. So I'll go to the next. This is the pan I use most. I know it's kind of sloppy that my measuring cups and my hot pads are just kind of sitting in here, but it works for me, and I use this pan the most, and so it's just right here convenient. And then all that's left down here are a stock pot and a slightly smaller pot and a rolling pin. Do I use a rolling pin monthly? No, I do not. But something about that rolling pin makes me happy. I just like to see it. It belonged to my Aunt Helen, and she's not with us anymore, and it kind of got passed to my mom, and then there was kind of a funny little story where we were kind of like fighting over who would get to have it, and I don't know, it just makes me happy to see it, so I'm going to leave that there because I like to see it. And for the sake of completeness, I don't want you to think that I don't have any pots or pans in my house. I do. I have another big pot. Oh, declutter. Getting rid of those. And I have another cutting board that I sometimes use, but I also use that as like a serving platter. And there we go. And so down here is where I keep a couple of smaller kettles, a toaster, and my coffee stuff, because my coffee pot is actually up on top of this. And the top drawer here, did you notice how you haven't seen that? That's the junk drawer, and that actually has to be its own day. I don't have the energy for it. I also don't have the energy for the cupboard on top of the coffee pot, which houses a lot of extra stuff. And so that's gonna be another time when I have another like 10 or 20 minute chunk of time. Okay, so we've made it to the end. It took a little longer than I anticipated, but once I got going, I kind of wanted to keep the momentum going. And I think you'll find that too when you're decluttering, that once you get started, it feels really good, and you just want to push through and get through as much as you can and get as much out as you can. Now, this stuff isn't truly decluttered, okay? Like, I think I'm ultimately going to get rid of this, what's it called? Steaming pan at some point. It just doesn't work very good. But right now I'm not going to get rid of it, so it's not truly decluttered. It's going to kind of go into like a quarantine space where it's going to have to kind of wait and see. This stuff I am keeping, but in a different place. This is food that I will eat, but it doesn't belong there. So even when we're decluttering, we can still feel really positive about being able to get like stuff out, right? Like at least get stuff where it belongs, okay? So even if we're not getting rid of that much. But then this garbage bag right here, this full garbage bag, I was able to actually declutter. So this is a huge bag full of food and Tupperwares and things, just things that I didn't even realize were hanging around. This is a big bag, you guys. Like, it's heavy, and this was just filling up my cupboards and making it hard for me to get to the things that I need and I want. So by throwing this away, and there was a couple other things too that like went into the recycle or the donation bin, and getting this food put where the food goes, and putting these things in the storage space where I'll find them when I want to use them. I feel pretty positive about the amount of work I was able to get done, the amount of stuff I was able to declutter. I hope that this really motivates you. If you found any use at all of it, it would help me so much if you would click the like button. It helps YouTube know to show this video to other people, I guess. And if you like this kind of thing and you vibe with it, then click subscribe. I post every week, and I'd love to spend more time with you. So that's all I've got for today. Thanks you guys for if you watched to the end, thank you so much. And I'll catch you next week. Bye.